today even have dreams of this crawl space. It was a chaotically organized space filled with Grandpa's findings. There was these carpeted runways that led to different piles of junk that he had collected over the years. And we would spend hours in there, hours, hunting through piles of screws, old tools, different garage sale items, and just other junk. Eventually, we would emerge triumphant with something in our hand, eager to ask Grandpa if we could have it. Now, it was just stuff, but to me and to us, all of the grandchildren, it was more than that. It was special. It was Grandpa's. Just take it, he would say. And we always proudly would. I'm sure all of the grandchildren today won't have to look hard in their house to find something that they have from Grandpa. I still have something to this day. It's just a rusty old pocket knife that I pulled out of that crawl space when I was a young kid. Typical of Grandpa to give an 8-year-old a knife, but I have it and I still keep it with me all day long. Today, however, it's not the thing itself or the treasure that I cherish, but rather the memory of that experience. And those experiences that we all as grandchildren has had and we commonly share. Now, as Easter is approaching, I'm sure that all the grandchildren can't help but remember some sort of Easter function at Grandma and Grandpa's. The annual Easter egg hunt was always a highly anticipated event, and Grandpa went to great lengths to hide candy in different and elaborate areas. Years later, unclaimed Twizzlers, you could find them on the tops of picture frames. Dusty and rock hard from years of neglect. But that became part of the jokes for us as grandchildren. I remember one Easter, the hunt was actually outside. The usual candy-filled plastic eggs were scattered throughout the yard, of which the empty bottom halves were later used as Easter dinner entertainment, lodged between the aunts and uncles' eyes, making strange noises and funny faces, much to the dismay of Grandma. But in addition to the candy that year that was hidden outside, Grandpa had also hidden money and coins in the grass. And in typical Grandpa fashion, he brought out an old metal detector that he had probably picked up at a garage sale. Each grandchild got to take turns using it and searching for money. And I remember it being just the neatest thing. And I think I remember seeing last night at the viewing, there were some video clips of that, and it just brought back so many memories of that. It was just typical Grandpa Penn. Grandpa was many things to us. He loved his jokes, and he was famous for them. My father, to this day, continues to recycle them, so I have the unique pleasure of hearing them on a regular basis. He loved his garage sales, and I personally think that he had a really good eye. He had a distinct taste for all things unique, which I believe has been passed down to all of us grandchildren in a variety of different forms that is today evident in each and every one of us. He was an inventor. He fiddled in his workshop constantly, and even as we got older, it was still a treat to take a peek at Grandpa's latest gadget. Many of you saw the mini cannon last night at the viewing. And that's something that I had completely forgot about. And when I saw it, a flood of memories washed me back to my childhood playing with my cousins, igniting this homemade cannon and watching humongous oranges fly across the street and sometimes splattering into the neighbor's fence. All the while with Grandpa smiling a very contented grin that he was so famous for. Grandpa was also musical. Harmonicas, banjos, and guitars oddly seemed to be readily on hand whenever we needed them. My boys today still prize their Grandpa harmonicas, and with every out-of-pitch blow they produce, I can't help but be reminded of my grandfather. Perhaps, though, I think the most important and influential characteristic Grandpa possessed was his unique perspective on life. He didn't sweat the small stuff, ever. I've often heard of him referred to as laid back or as easygoing, but I think that is a gross oversimplification of a man. I think Grandpa really knew just what was important and what wasn't. He didn't focus on the things that didn't matter, and he really enjoyed the things that did. That piece of him, I can sometimes see in myself and in my own children, and is a characteristic that is tangibly recognizable in all of the grandchildren. Our memory of Grandpa will not fade. He has been in our lives from day one, remember. His characteristics that we, as grandchildren, inherently possess will continue to pay tribute to him for generations to come. Grandma, our memory of him is without distortion. The last few years don't count. We will always remember Grandpa for what he was and what he individually meant to all of us. Like the canon that I forgot about, the memories are plentiful and continue to resurrect themselves when you least expect it. Remember, all of the grandchildren have a Grandpa Penner story, and our memories will be reflected in those. Grandpa, you will be impossible to forget, and we will miss you greatly.